American law enforcement isn't evil, and the media shouldn't judge. Fake news fuels inevitable violence. Today, let's explain the difficult topic clearly. The theme has only one core, but there are four facets. The core is to demonize law enforcement and extreme rhetoric, which means that the streets are more dangerous. The four sections are guns in Dallas, conflicts in Chicago, numbers in Florida, and politicians' rhetoric. Let's lay out the roadmap first. Part 1. More details and enlightenment of the Dallas case. Part 2. The narrative pull of the Broadview scene. Part 3. How to disassemble the Crocodile Alcatraz Island digital station. Part 4. How to change extreme rhetoric from joke to fire. 6 targeted suggestions address audiences, media, politicians, law enforcement, their families, and community groups. Please subscribe, retweet, and comment before watching. Part 1. The steering wheel of hate in Dallas. In Dallas, someone wrote hate on a bullet and pointed a gun at a law enforcement venue. As a result, 2 immigrants in custody fell, the gunman committed suicide, and the city woke up at night. You will find a cruel fact that being an enforcer is equal to a flood of demons. The bullet didn't distinguish between objects. He hit the most vulnerable group, including those who were escorted without protection. This is not a battle for position. This is a battle for life. Some people say, is there no problem in law enforcement? Of course not. Excessive law enforcement should be corrected. The protection of rights and interests should be increased. And medical assistance, detention conditions, and external supervision should be indispensable. But demonizing the whole system collectively doesn't make the program better. It only makes the impulse faster and the gunfire closer. We have to ask one more question. How did hatred drive on the highway? One is Scissorhands information. Take a law enforcement video for only 5 seconds and match the most exciting clip with the angriest title so that you can't think. The second is response. Formula algorithm. The angrier you get, the more you stay, the more angrier the platform pushes you. The third is identity mobilization, turning policy disputes into us against them, turning procedural disputes into personal humiliation, and turning each other from compatriots to opponents. When these 3 things are superimposed, a bullet finds its landing point. The second part, Broadview collision between slogans and order. Chicago's suburban Broadview street confrontation is getting tighter and tighter, saying that freedom is pressed and saying that order is provoked. I'm not against people expressing positions, but I'm against using fists as microphones. When there are loaded weapons, physical conflicts, and emotionally driven pushing and blocking at the scene, what follows is often not a debate, but an ambulance. Law enforcement should indeed be examined, but on-site safety is the common bottom line of everyone. Otherwise, reporters can't write reports, lawyers can't enter the meeting, family members can't get information, and policies can't be changed. Why do such conflicts often occur in big cities? Because of the dense crowd, highly differentiated positions, and high media attention, any action can immediately become a national hot search. So every move is serving the narrative, and everyone wants to be on the right side of history. The real history is often written in those humble meeting minutes, those lengthy compliance memos, and those process improvements that are not eye-catching enough. The roar of the streets is loud, but change often begins with silence. Part 3. How to dismantle the Crocodile Alcatraz digital station. Now enter the link that is most easily rhythmized by the title. With 15 dead and 200 missing, it sounds like a horror movie and a conspiracy theory. What we're going to do is a 3-step disassembly. The first step is that the death of another caliber can be confirmed by both judiciary and medical treatment. The Sinotai incident must be investigated, accountable, and made public. The common meaning of disappearance in the detention system is more due to the fact that there is no record in the database. In order to move to another place for decreasing bail, after the system is updated or the identity information is inconsistent, the lack of finding is directly equated with unknown whereabouts. Statistically, this is to treat process variables as outcome variables. The second step is to check the timeline. A lot of data that seems to be at the same time are actually not sliced at the same time. One is the inventory at the beginning of the month, and the other is the flow at the end of the month. After subtracting them, they disappear out of thin air on the detention chain. Cross-weekly transfer, court scheduling, and border reduction handover may all cross days or even cross weeks. If the timeline is not aligned, it will create a bizarre gap. The third step is to ask the information pipeline. It is a pain point of the system that family members can't contact people with lawyers, but the solution is not the subordinate's title, but the mandatory contact window and node receipt. For example, SMS or email notification before transfer, updating the system status within 24 hours after transfer, arranging a lawyer's interview, and the signature of the person responsible for the failure receipt. These are all boring, but they can reduce panic and save lives. The court's procedure on this island is no longer overwhelming. The rejection of restraining orders, demolition orders, partial termination of appeals, budget reimbursement, and re-examination of environmental assessments all mean that the process is still running. If we only like to read keywords such as crocodiles eating people, we will miss the series of numbers and words that really affect the results. I know it's not cool, but the program is the safety valve of civilization before it gets angry. Part 4. Extreme rhetoric from joke to kindling now speaks language supply chain. A politician wrote 2 bullets in a private letter, named his political opponent and got shot twice, accompanied by an ugly curse. Later he apologized but did not withdraw from the election. The problem is not which party he is. The problem is that mainstream figures feed marginal sentiments. When the mainstream regards the execution stalk as a joke, the edge will regard the joke as an instruction and a public opinion. On treating demonization as traffic, young, impulsive, and algorithmically coerced people are more likely to use violence to complete the plot. Many people ask, do language really have so much power? I answered 3 yes. Because words provide violence with a cloak of justice. Because language turns complex problems into simple switches to eliminate each other. Because language will double in the algorithm, and every forwarding is a legitimacy bonus. Therefore, don't use private spit to find a step for extreme words. The strict one is responsible, not to mention that he is a public figure. Finally, back to the opening sentence. Demonizing law enforcement plus extreme rhetoric means that the streets are more dangerous. What we want is not silence, but more precise supervision. What we want is not traffic, but more verifiable facts. What we want is not jazz language, but slow and steady program repair. If you also want the discussion to return to rationality and the supervision to return to professionalism, please like, forward, and subscribe. I am a little blue man, and I'll see you next time.